This is The Guide Gals, a modern, wedding-focused podcast by the experts at Here Comes the Guide. I'm Chelsea, a designer and inspired creative who's probably racked up over 9,000 hours on Pinterest, and the friend who's going to shoot it to you straight.
And I'm Caroline, a social media manager who's obsessed with dogs as ring bearers and will inevitably cry over your wedding video. We've seen it from all sides. We've been brides, planners, bridesmaids, and have worked with standout brands throughout the industry.
Think of us as an extension of your wedding party and hang out with us as we share the ins, outs, ups, and downs of the road to I do.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Guide Gals podcast. Today we're answering your questions surrounding your wedding.
Yes, so a lot of things inevitably come up as you're planning your wedding, and no matter how much research you do or how many episodes of our podcast that you listen to, you will likely still have questions, and we're excited to be answering some of them today.
Yeah, it's such a hard process planning your wedding, and it's sometimes hard to figure out where to turn with these specific questions, so we're excited to help with any of the advice that we have in today's episode. But of course, we have to talk about what's fueling us for today's episode with what is the beverage.
You go first, Caroline. What are you drinking today?
All right, I have a cold brew, Dunkin' cold brew, but switched over to this cup, and caramel cold brew, which is a classic. I think I had that maybe 2 episodes ago, something like that.
Very nice.
Loving it. What do you have?
I have this coffee from home, and I have hazelnut flavor in there. This is, I'm a repeat offender. It's going to be this most times.
Yeah. I feel like, and we've talked about this before, you are the tried and true, the classics, the consistency. I will have a different beverage every time. I will. Even I'll come back to ones. I think caramel cold brew is one I come back to. You guys have to know this about us at this point. We love beverages. So don't think we're always just drinking the same thing, but throughout the day, at least I know for me, I'm sure Chelsea's the same way. Throughout the day, I'm going to have a caramel cold brew. I'll probably have a Diet Coke later. I'll have water. I might have Element. Maybe I'll have Olipop. The list goes on. Kombucha. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Not kombucha for me. But most of those other things on the list, I will regularly indulge in. So,
Side note for everybody, in case you care. At the time of us filming this, it is my wedding anniversary today. 4 years of marriage. Woo!
Happy anniversary. I did say this to you maybe 10 minutes ago. So, happy anniversary on camera.
Thank you. Yes. We were trying to decide if you say congrats or happy anniversary. I think both is fine. I don't know.
Congratulations.
I'm just asking for attention, so that's fine.
As you should. Okay, diving in, our first question is from Lydia, and she said, I'm inviting 178 guests to my wedding, and I want to get a better idea of what the final count will be. Is there any way to estimate how many people won't attend? That's a great question.
That is such a great question, and I feel like a question that everyone is going to ask. So it would be great if all 178 people showed up. It would make planning a lot easier if they all RSVP'd on time, attended if they said they would, didn't attend if they said they wouldn't, and didn't bring uninvited guests. But that's not always the case. That doesn't always happen. So kind of the rule of thumb is that 80% acceptance is kind of the norm. I would caution you not to count on that. It really does vary. The 80% is probably just an average, but you may have more people who are able to attend or less. And that can also depend on location, time of year, holidays, if it's a difficult time. But kind of sticking to that, you can also use kind of your save the dates as a good gauge. If you can get those save the dates out, and if you start hearing from more people that they won't be able to attend, great. Then maybe you can count on that 80% or maybe less. But if you send out your save the dates and you're hearing a lot of people saying, yes, I can attend, then that's something to caution you with, because you don't want to serve plates of expensive food to empty chairs, and you also don't want to shell out extra cash if more people come than you're expecting. And so it's a hard thing to navigate.
It is a really difficult thing to navigate. And it really is going to be probably one of the biggest or one of the bigger pain points just of your wedding planning process. I think it's kind of an unavoidable one, trying to get everybody to actually respond to your RSVPs. Like you said, get them to respond on time. You have a due date for these things. It's just not always the easiest. People are just people, and that's just kind of the way that us humans operate. But I just wanted to add too, so if you're planning a destination wedding, the average percentage of guests that will be able to attend is usually somewhere in between that 30 to 40%. area. Another thing I want to touch on is the concept of a B list. So this is like kind of controversial, but we have heard of people having this. So some people do have like a second round of invitations that they will send out after they, maybe get a lot of no's, people are unable to attend. So yeah, so like maybe people that aren't as close to you, but like if you, feel like you have room to accommodate more and you've gotten a lot of no's, you can go for it. But yeah, I just know that like people will likely find out, at least someone will in some capacity, that like they got their invitation like much later than other people, and they might feel like a B list. Maybe they won't care, maybe it's not that big of a deal to you, but just keep in mind that if you do have some sort of B list, like
there's a right way and wrong way to go about it, for sure. I had a B list. So if anyone who is listening to this and you were on my B list, I'm so sorry, but I was getting married, and these people who were on my B list were still in college. I was supposed to get married at the chapel on my college campus. And so there was just a few people on the B list because we were already stretching our guest list as it was. And I was like, I would have loved for them to be there. So if family members couldn't come, I was like, those are the people I want to have fill their spots. It is a tough thing to navigate. One girl found out she was on the B list, and she made a big deal out of like, it was like very... And that I was like, that to me, I was like, well, then I don't want you at my wedding anyway. Yeah. That's your response to it. And then there are other girls who were like, it's like, yeah, no, you're going down. Oops. But there were other girls who were like, they were so excited. They're like, yes, like we get to be a part of your day. That was the response that I was like, wow, like I'm so glad that you were able to then fill that spot. Of course, we all know what happened with my wedding. So everyone became B-list in the end. Yeah, there's a right way and a wrong way. And honestly, if people react poorly to it, like I do think sometimes it's just the name of the game, the logistics of it. Maybe your venue of your dreams can only accommodate 100 people and you want to pack that 100 people. So yeah, I don't know. Just proceed with caution, I guess.
Proceed with caution for sure. And I will say too, like, because you're the one planning your wedding and you're feeling the stress of it and you're seeing all of the reasons why you might need to keep your guest list smaller, whether it's financial or a space issue, the other people are just not going to see that. Even if you did explain it to them, like people are going to react the way that they're going to react, and people will get offended. Well, they will make it about themselves. Like that's just, once again, humans being humans. So if you do have a scenario similar to that one with someone like freaking out, just like take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. She got married a couple of years after me, and I was like, I wonder if now she has the perspective. Who's to say?
Did you get invited?
No. No, I did not.
There you go. B-listed.
I was probably D-listed after that. Oh. Whatever.
Shoot.
That's fine. If you're listening to this, which I highly doubt you are, I wish you well. I do. Okay, question number 2 is coming from a mother of a bride. And the question is, we are planning a fairly upscale and costly wedding for our daughter. It is a destination wedding for our guests, but it is more local for the groom side. Therefore, our guests are not as likely to attend as those on the groom side. Do we have to split the guest list 50-50? My thoughts are that we should have a 30-70 or 40-60 split. We are paying for the whole thing. What's the norm?
Yeah, I mean, I guess traditionally, usually that 50-50 split is like what people usually do. But there, like in our opinion, like with a lot of things, there's no like super set rules, and every family is unique. Every event is unique. So you can really, I think the best thing is to just move forward with like thoughtfulness and being courteous to the other side of the family. So I'm not sure exactly like what the percentages that you mentioned like represent, but yeah, you probably just keep it, like I said, thoughtfulness, being courteous to the other side too. You don't want to start off this marriage of your daughters on the wrong foot and just like offending anybody and having some sort of disagreement about a guest list. It's probably not worth it in that way. But if it is a destination wedding, like you said, you might be like expecting that you're going to invite, say, 100 people from one percentage or one side, and maybe 50 of those will attend. I know that you said that the groom's family is more likely like going to be able to attend since it's more local for them. But yeah, I think like communication is key as you're doing this. Once again, thoughtfulness, courteousness, and communicate what you're thinking to the other side, and just make sure that like their thoughts are heard too. And I mean, if you're paying for the wedding, of course, finances are going to be like kind of a bottom line thing. And you guys will have to come to some sort of agreement that will work, that you'll be able to afford.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Honestly, even similarly to what we said in the last question, using save the dates as a kind of gauge on that is also kind of helpful, because especially if you're thinking about your family members, they will probably tell you once they get the save the dates, like, yes, I can or I can't. And that can also help gauge like what things look like for your side of the family. But also, this is such a tough topic because yes, it does come down to monetary things. And honestly, the groom side is probably likely very aware of this. Like, they probably know that you're paying for a lot of this. So I don't know what your relationship looks like with the groom side of the family, but just to like be really cautious, because this is yes, you're not marrying the groom side of the family, but your daughter is, and you don't want to set her up for any awkwardness or tough conversations later. It's kind of stemming from this. So the family the best. Just, I guess that would be my only concern. I know if I was in this position, I would really want to navigate what that looks like well. And or maybe very much so, the groom side is aware of how much you're paying for it, and they would be totally fine with you inviting more guests, knowing your situation. So yeah, you probably already know that part of things, but I think that's where I would get the most nervous, is just thinking about if there's any conflict, what that could look like for the future conversations.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think there's really anything wrong with going with your gut and what you think and coming up with a guest list, and before sending out any save the dates or anything, shaking that guest list and talking through it with the groom side of the family, whoever that is, whether it's like their mom or dad or whoever like that kind of point person is there, and saying like, what are your edits? Like, what are your thoughts? Like, what do we need to do here to make this work financially, and for like both of us to make sure that we're including everyone that we really want to include.
Yeah. Good question. That's a tough one.
Hope that helps. Okay, our next question is from Annie. She says, I had a destination wedding. Should I send a thank you note to those guests that came to the wedding but did not buy us a gift? Thanks for your help.
Yeah. Thank yous are an interesting thing. And honestly, I think especially knowing that this is a destination wedding, those guests are already paying a lot to travel to see you. And it's possible that they might be under the assumption that like their presence was the present. And especially if you said that at any time or in any type of stationery that they got. I know I've seen that out there, like for destination weddings, that on the invite or something like that, it says something along those lines. But also, I do think people still to this day kind of, especially with destination weddings, stick to some sort of guideline of like even up to a year afterwards is when they can send a wedding gift to you. And destination weddings are hard too, because they may not be bringing a gift with them. They may have only remembered about what gift they wanted to get you when they were at your wedding. So maybe there's something still in the mail for you. But I think if you are in doubt at all, send a thank you. No matter what, send a thank you, because even at the end of the day, if they don't get you a gift, they spent time, maybe took time off of work, they're spending money to come and celebrate you, and that's a big deal. And I think at the end of the day, that's what should be important, is them being there with you on your wedding day rather than a gift. Although I love gifts. I think my love language is giving gifts, and I do love receiving them. But there might still be something in the mail for you. There might still be something that comes up or something, I don't know. But I always say, just if in doubt, send a thank you.
I very much agree. And I think like the best thank you notes anyway will be kind of like thanking them for like making your experience better and like being there for you on the day, rather than saying like, thanks for like the $100 bill that you like put in the envelope that you left for us, or like, thanks for the blender. I'm making a lot of smoothies. Like, that's like not the message that like feels really good to receive, I think. So I think like no matter what, whether they got you a gift or not, you should absolutely send a thank you. Let them know how much it meant for them to be there to celebrate with you. And if like there's any type of way that you can make it feel personal, I don't know, like some sort of special memory from the day, I think that that's really great. And I mean, okay, I know that thank you notes like can feel like a really big task. Like you just planned an entire wedding. That's a big task. And you're not done yet, you know? Like, but I think that you need to buckle down, you need to buy your stamps, and you need to send a thank you note to every single person that came or every single person that sent you a gift and wasn't able to come. Like, just send it to them. It'll make people feel really good. It'll probably make you feel good.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the money you spend,
send them a gift, or sorry, send them a thank you note.
The money that you spend on that stamp will be well spent. They'll enjoy it. It's good. All right, question number 4 is coming from Janet, and she says, my fiance and I are considering a destination wedding somewhere in California. We aren't sure what the expectations are in terms of covering the cost of our guests. Also, what do you think is the best place for a California destination wedding? Thanks.
So you're definitely not alone in wondering about like what the logistics are or like what the expectations are when it comes to destination weddings. They are kind of, you know, like their own thing. But we do have an entire episode that's all about destination weddings, kind of breaking down all of those different things. That's episode number 16, if you want to check that out. But in general, what we see a lot of people doing is that families pay for the food and all of the activities, like if you have some sort of itinerary of activities, which a lot of people do for destination weddings. But yeah, you would pay for the food and then all of those activities that you're planning. And then typically your guests will pay for like their own transportation, getting there, and their own lodging. So that's like kind of what we see most often, but kind of anything goes, as long as you're making sure that you're really communicating what, you know, your guests will be responsible for on your wedding website or, you know, wherever. Just make sure that they know, and they know so that they're able to know like if they can attend, like if they're able to afford it, whatever, because you know, destination weddings definitely are a bigger ask. It's great that you're going to California. It is in the United States. So like it's not international as long as you live in the United States. But I love California. I think it's such a great place to plan a destination wedding. I lived there for a couple of years in Southern California. I was in San Clemente, so Orange County area, South Orange County. I loved it. I think that's a beautiful place for a wedding, like lots of tiny beach towns along the coast there. But that's where I lived, so I'm definitely biased. But California is super diverse. It's a huge state, as you know, I'm sure. So I think like Southern California is going to have a totally different feel from Northern California. And you have mountains. So yeah. I mean, and an endless kind of possibilities there.
Yes, there are so many possibilities in California that has to be so hard to choose. And go to Here Comes the Guide, of course. Check out all of our resources for where to have your California wedding. Currently, I have my eye on Lake Arrowhead, Big Bear kind of area because we have a Here Comes the Guide staffer who is visiting those venues right now. And all of the images and photos and videos and things that she's sending me, I'm just like, those look amazing. They have on-site accommodations. They're right on the water, some of them, like beautiful. But also, I think another thing that I would want to add to this is you have to think about it is a considerable time and money investment for people to come to a destination wedding, no matter what. So kind of like what we said last time, like sending a thank you note is really important. But also there are little things that you can do to kind of maybe help alleviate some of the costs that they'll be spending. Maybe trying to get group discounts, of course, for like lodging, but maybe even other activities, or setting up babysitting if their kids are coming with them to the destination wedding, but they're not necessarily going to the wedding itself, setting up some babysitting resources or pet sitting or whatever other amenities that could help them. If you have welcome bags for them, just to make them feel, you know, welcomed, comforted while they are traveling for your wedding. So that's just another little thing that you could do to kind of help.
Yeah, you should absolutely listen to our episode 16 about this because we do go over lots of those like little details, just the stuff that makes the destination weddings a little bit different than non-destination weddings. So
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, our next question is from Jen, and she says, neither my fiance or I are religious at all, despite our upbringings, though we do share broad based spirituality. Our families are much more traditional and might be offended if our wedding ceremony is entirely secular. Is there a way to honor the belief systems of our parents without being hypocritical?
This is a great question. And I imagine, again, you are not the only one feeling
I think
like
this is
or
probably
thinking
very
this.
common.
Oh, for sure. And I think a good rule of thumb, and this is something my parents always said to me, was like, don't bring politics or religion to dinner parties. And I think that's a good rule of thumb, especially for big celebrations like a wedding. And it's easy to leave political conversations behind, but sometimes with big momentous occasions like this that do have a lot of religious background, it can be harder to navigate that end of things. So we actually did ask some officiants about this, and please know that you're not alone in feeling like this. This is a question that they get a lot of times, and officiants are great to help navigate like how much you want to add and how little you want to add. And I pulled something from Dr. Kimberly Wilkes of Elegant Weddings and Marriage License Service. And they recommend begin by asking yourself and your future husband some key questions. How much do you know about your parents' belief systems and what they expect of you in your ceremony? How would you feel about including traditions from your parents' faiths, such as drinking of wine, lighting a unity candle, or even a simple blessing? Would you be offended if the term God or a higher power were used? And those answers will help guide you and your officiant in creating the wedding that you desire. And I think that's good advice.
Yeah, it is good advice. Another officiant that I read up on a little bit, he said that you can change your perspective and maybe even think of your parents' religious background as your heritage, which is, I think, like a really great way to kind of, like just shift that perspective.
Totally.
And with this, you can like sprinkle different words or rituals into your ceremony that have that meaning that, your families will recognize and, be happy about or whatever, or feel seen in your ceremony. But yeah, I think that it's a great way, if you look at it from that perspective without it feeling like hypocritical in any way. And yeah, like Caroline said, I think that if you have these feelings going in, which I mean, you clearly do, you wrote this question, you should ask these questions and be open about how you're feeling to your officiant for your wedding, because I bet that they would be more than happy to make sure that what you guys are doing on your wedding day like feels right to you and like makes the most sense. So
yeah. Okay, so next question comes from Rachel, and Rachel asks, what are the steps for securing a room block? Yeah, it's a good question.
It is a good question. Yeah, I don't know like what other time in your life, maybe I'm like totally wrong, but I don't know like what other time in your life other than planning a wedding that you'll need to do something like this. So just to like break it down real basic. So a hotel room block is going to be a reservation of 10 or more rooms. And this is going to save you time. It's going to save you money, like you and your guests. And it's going to make sure that all of your guests will at least have the option for a place to stay after your wedding. So keeps people safe from driving if there's drinking involved. So that's really great. And on average, those group rates are anywhere between 15 and 40% lower than standard rates. So that's really awesome. Definitely something like if you have a hotel in mind, like don't skip over this step. It's great that you're asking, but you'll definitely want to like, this is something you want to do, not just say like there's hotels nearby. Like if there's an opportunity to have some sort of room block, you should take advantage of that.
So here are 6 steps that we came up with to kind of help you navigate this part. Number 1, research and choose a hotel. If you don't have one in mind, some good things to think about are the location, amenities that might be included like breakfast, and budget. And then also, if you have a large guest list or a destination wedding, consider offering multiple room blocks at multiple hotels at different price points and maybe with different amenities. That's something that you can do too. Then you're going to contact that hotel's sales department. Contact the hotel directly and ask to speak with a sales manager who handles wedding room blocks. They are the best person to go to because they know exactly what to do. They'll make sure everything gets set up appropriately and get you that discount. Discuss your needs then. Provide the dates, the estimated number of guests who might need a room, and inquire about the room block types. So there are 2 different types. Courtesy block is rooms are held for a specific time frame, but you're not financially responsible for unbooked rooms. That was great to know. I think that's like a big part of like the confusion is like, am I paying for all of this out front, or who's paying for this? And then you can also do a contracted block. You guarantee a certain number of rooms, even if they go unbooked, usually with a discounted rate. So those are different: courtesy block and contracted block. And then you're going to negotiate rates and terms, discuss the discounted rate with the hotel that they can offer to your guests. Ask about a block cutoff date. This is the deadline by which your guests have to book to receive that discount, and make sure that they are in that block. And then negotiate other terms, like maybe getting a complimentary room for the couple or a hospitality suite for getting ready. That's a great thing to talk to them about. And because you're booking a block with them, they may offer that as well. And that's great. Then you just have to finalize that agreement with them, get everything written in a contract. We're always saying that, get everything written down with the number of rooms that you are going to block, what the discounted rate is, the cutoff date for those reservations, and a cancellation policy. Those are all really important things to get in writing. And once all of that is figured out, tied up with a bow, then you can spread the word. So make sure everyone knows the hotel block information, the hotel name, those types of things. Put that on your wedding website. Put that on your invitation. Text that to people if they need it. And they're going to need the hotel name, the block code, and remind them of that cutoff date. Make sure they know that.
Yeah. Thank you, Caroline, for breaking it down. It seems like a lot, but it is like a pretty simple process, I think. And hotels are used to this, especially if they're like close to popular wedding venues. But just like a few other things. So just consider that the booking process might be different at different hotels. It probably will be. It won't be like the exact same everywhere. So some hotels offer like an online booking with a code for your guests, while others will require your guests to actually call the hotel and then mention the wedding in order to take advantage of that. And then if you do go with a courtesy block, you want to keep track of how many rooms are booked, and then you can follow up, or you should follow up with your guests who haven't booked like by the cutoff date. Okay, our next question is from Lindsay. She says, "Hi ladies, I just listened to your latest podcast episode on wedding party and it could not have come at a better time." That's great. "I'm currently at the stage of asking my bridal party and would love your advice on how to ask / what gifts to give, especially if a couple might say no. I don't want to go all out and pressure them to be part of the party when they're having babies out of the country and are planning their own wedding. Any suggestions would be greatly appreciated." Okay, this is awesome. And yeah, definitely something we can talk more about.
Yeah. I love that you're being so considerate of them, because it is like being a part of a bridal party is a commitment. It is something that they're going to shell out money, time, effort towards. So I think first and foremost, I think your words are going to matter a lot. So focus on the relationship aspect of it when you're talking to them, in whatever form of proposal that you go for. And make sure you frame the request around how much that friendship means to you and how much you'd love to have them by your side, not just for the duties. I think putting that focus there is really important, because they will know, even if they say no, that friendship matters to you. And so instead of maybe saying, "Will you be my bridesmaid?" try, "I can't imagine my wedding day without you there. I'd be honored if you stood by my side." But also with that in mind, with words matter and communication, we're always saying this, communication is really key in this. So yes, while your friendship and having them by your side is important, also be upfront about whatever expectations that you have. So maybe mentioning some of those key details or roles that you expect of them. Also emphasizing that you are super flexible, if you are flexible on like some of the things that you want to do. And definitely invite them into some sort of open dialogue. I think if you give them some sort of proposal, I wouldn't write all of this down. I would talk to them about it. FaceTime with them if you're not in the same place. Make sure that there's room for you guys to talk about it, so that nobody's feelings get hurt, and so that the other person on the other end can see that you're coming from a really like open place.
Yeah, like very true. I like leaving that room for an actual conversation instead of like, I mean, like sending something in the mail can be really cool, like a really like fun surprise, but with like these feelings that you have about it in mind, face to face in some capacity is going to be best. And also like, I think it'd be really great too to ask them in like a way that feels really personal. Maybe like I mean, I know a lot of people like go all out on the gifts, but if it feels like a really personal gift, maybe a handwritten note, maybe like some of their favorite things like bundled together. So then like once again, it feels very personal, and I think it will just like give more to that feeling of them recognizing that like you care about them. It seems like more than just like, okay, I need someone who can do all of this. And of course, like you probably will have your expectations for them, like things that you want them to do. I think like making it known that like this is more about the fact that like you want them to be part of your day is really great. And then like also consider if they're feeling like really hesitant about it for whatever reason, and maybe it's like something you're like, okay, like I can't actually be like, the reasons that you're hesitating on it are like reasons that I can't exactly be flexible on. Maybe consider like having different roles for them and still allowing them to be involved. I don't know. I not that it has to even have a specific title. Like maybe like they can be their like wedding day only, or I know a lot of people are doing like kind of a trend that I've seen is like a bachelorette party that is more like open to like all. And I think that we've even talked about that before. I'm thinking about it because I got invited to one recently. I was like, oh, you want me to come to your bachelorette party? Because I am not in the wedding like at all. But I think that's really cool, and like a way that makes a lot of people feel really included. Maybe that's not your style, maybe that's not what you want, but there are options, and it's like really up to you. Like there are no strict rules on this stuff, so for sure.
Okay, we're going to do a couple rapid fire questions because I know this episode is getting kind of long, but we love being able to answer your questions. These were all submitted to us, and some of them came in through our email. Some of them came through our DMs on Instagram. So there's a lot of different ways you can reach us for future episodes like this. Make sure you get into our DMs, email us, whatever works for you. So we're going to do a couple rapid fire to wrap us up. Okay, so first question, there's a couple from Lindsay. I would wonder if it's the same Lindsay. Who's to say? But this is how to arrange wedding events like bridal shower, bachelorette, etc. for the wedding party that has to travel. I feel like for this one, at least in the experiences that I've been in either planning or being part of wedding parties where we talk about this, it always worked best when you put everybody in the bridal party into a group chat, talked about dates that worked best for everybody, getting everybody on the same page so we see all of that. And sometimes like they had to inevitably choose dates where like one or two people couldn't make it, and that's just like inevitable. But I've also been part of a wedding party where the bride just like gave us dates, and for the bridal shower, only 2 of us could make it. And it was like tough.
Yeah. I mean, and that's going to be up to you at the end of the day. Like if you have certain dates where you're like, I have to be able to be there. These are the dates that are going to have to happen. That's great. I think that if you have the option to have some sort of open communication about availability and all of that, do it. Like a group chat, like if you don't have a group chat and you guys are going on a vacation together, what's going on? Like you guys need to like have one of those for sure. Just for like the camaraderie of it all. But yeah.
And then gifts for the bridal party as a huge thank you, of course, that bridesmaids will actually like and use. So in my experience, the ones that I've used the most afterwards, or the ones that like when I packed my gifts, I packed them in TJ Maxx reusable bags with a cute pattern that I felt like matched the personality of either my bridesmaids or of like kind of the wedding. They still carry those things around to this day to get groceries, to go on sleepovers. Like, is it the prettiest presentation? No, but it's very practical. And then the other one that I loved the most was I got a jewelry travel case container, and that bride put the necklace we were supposed to wear and the earrings we were supposed to wear in that jewelry case. I wear the necklace still actually, but I use that jewelry case and I love it. She also gave us slippers to wear while we were getting ready for the wedding, and I thought that was cute.
That is cute. I like the idea. I know this is probably like way overdone, but like the idea of robes is cute too, but maybe like instead of like, I don't know, like the monogrammed like satin ones that like, I mean, are like honestly like $15 on Amazon. Maybe like one that's like a little bit more upscale that's like, I don't know, like I would wear that over and over again. Like anything to do with like the getting ready stuff, I think would be great. An idea that's popping into my head as well are like